Hi, and welcome to Control Alt Include the Accessibility podcast by Accessiway. I'm Neil Horesh. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Accessiway. And today we have with us Giampiero Griffo. Hi, Giampiero.
Hi,
How are you? And can you
good
introduce
morning.
yourself? Great. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am a human rights defender for persons with disability. I have different charge at international level as a member of the board of the European Disability Forum, member of the World Council of DPI. I am member of the Bioethic Committee of San Marino, and I am the chairperson of the Italian Network on Disability and Development. I am active for more than 50 years on the human rights of persons with disability, and I am very happy to stay here to explain how the main issue are related to hinder the possibility to have an accessible world.
So it's thank you very much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And by the way, I haven't met you before, so I'm very excited about our conversation today. I have a lot to learn from you with your experience. And I wanted to start with the first topic, which is about the culture. And I've written down the question, so I make sure that I ask it correctly. And the question is, what is the cultural starting point from which we are trying to build a world where everyone can participate in society, regardless of disability? And how does this culture shapes the way that we think about and approach accessibility?
Yes, when we're speaking about the necessity that person with disability achieve the human rights and be citizen like the other, we need to take in account a very negative barrier that influence people at all level. I speak about the stigma that are developed in the last millennium that consider person with disability not only citizen but main person with health problem. This person need to be treated in different way. If we start on the history of the treatment, we discover that in the ancient Greece, a Sparta city, the people with the newborn consider with malformation are abandoned on the Mount Taygeto because it's considered not possible to be soldier. And this position are stressed even by Aristotle that say that this person need to be killed when born. The same happened in the ancient Rome. The law of 12 table is 400 century before Christ, say the same. The people, the newborn need to be abandoned killed
Mhm.
to the Rupa Tarpea, to the mountain Tarpea, and even Seneca, that is a philosopher of tolerance, say stress this good action. If you look in the century, we discover that during the Middle Age, the person with disability at maximum is beggars. Are
Mhm.
no place, are no activity can be acceptable, and only at the uh, ending of the Middle Age, born the institution, charitative institution from the church. Is an institution that accepts this person as poor person that permit this person to live. But in a segregate form. During the industry revolution, we discover that the consideration of this person are that this person can be productive and need to be progressively separated by society. After the War of 30 Years in the 600 century, born the first civil institution on that. The more important is the Les Invalides in French, that collect all the person that are working in the war and remain blessed. This trend are developed in the 17, 18, and 19th century because born the civil institution like the psychiatric hospital, like the institute at very level, and in the same time, this person are considered not able to live in society. The main condition of discrimination coming after the First War. 8 million and half of person, soldier and civil, return blessed. And the problem is how is possible to combat that and favorize a support. But the solution are a system of assessment that are concentrate only on the health condition, forgetting all capacity and characteristic of the person. And during the Second War, the action T4 from the Nazi beginning to kill a person with disability before the Jews in the gas room. And that is exactly the more high level of discrimination. This heritage is an heritage that remain in society, coming in the common sense and influence all member of society, professional, other responsible political, communicator, and so on. And this is the first strong wake that the heritage on the millennium in there to person with disability to living in an accessible world.
Yes, you said a lot of interesting things. But I think two things I will take from this. First one, you've mentioned the barriers. It's important to say that people with disabilities a lot of time are disabled by the environment that is not adjusted for them and not taking them in account and it's a decision that someone chose, and it can be a different decision. And generally speaking, from what you're saying, a lot of this decision to not accept people with disabilities to society, they are horrible. But the good thing about it is that we can decide otherwise. And I think that in recent years, we are starting to see different decisions that want to accept everyone to be part of society and start to understand how to do it. And I think
taking account as an important issue that all welfare systems in all parts of the world are based on the medical and individual model on disability. This means it's not only the cultural heritage, but practical action that the state have a welfare acting in favor of person with disability.
Yeah, this is very, very important. My second question to you is like this. The disability studies identified a mechanism that affects people with disabilities, both in how society relates to them, which is relates to what you said, and in how they relate to society, which is something we a lot of time don't think about. And this is known as ableism. So thinking about other people in society as abled people. What impact that this have on people with disabilities, and how might it influence the way they perceive themselves within a social context?
If you reflecting about this approach, is an approach that are based that the planning of the society in the services, in the construction, in the product, are based on the idea of the human being that not have any limitation, functional limitation. Ableism is the idea that exists only one human human being standard, and this human being standard need to be the base of the activity of the architect, engineer, of the product, the person that make product in industry, the activity in services, and so on. This is against what is the human being. Human being is for principle a person different one by one, because the human being born for a conjunction of two DNA that coming from a woman and a man. This means that each person living in the world is a person with the different functioning. I stress that because the different functioning is not only walking, seeing, listen, but, for example, have capacity on the mathematic issue, have a good body to make some performance in athletic or in another sport, the person that have a good memory way and not forget the key any day, the person that living with a condition of perfection. Don't exist in the nature human being perfect. That is a thing that coming first from evident form that nature have decided to developing. This means the adaptation depending on the capacity of the person to change capacity, activity, and competence in relation with the context, the environment, or other issue. Other issues are related that this means that a person with disability, like say the Convention on the Right of Person with Disability, is a part of the human diversity. That is an important issue because we understand that the approach of ableism delete a number very high of person in the world. The WHO calculate 1,300,000,000 of person with disability. But if you look in the detail, we understand that potentially this ableism can produce an exclusion a large part of society. And this exclusion produce a complexity, negative consequence for society. More cost, less capacity evaluation, valorization, less of the understanding that the person that have a functional limitation or other differences can be contribute in society. Actually, the ableism have influenced so much who building the town environment, who developing public services like transport, like services in a place accessible for health, for employment, and so on. So ableism is a negative approach that listen only a part of society. If I reflect about this how do you explain this standard, I understand that yes, in the, for example, architect context, for example, Lloyd Wright, a very strong architect, American, during the Second War, building the museum totally accessible, without stair and with the ramp. This is an experience in the 43, but are not understanding of our responsible technician responsible. So ableism is another issue that produce in the professional a negative approach on the field of disability.
Yeah, I think like a few things to respond to what you said. The first one, I think that this diversity at the end of the day is something that we, as humanity, we enjoy it. We like the fact that we have scientists, but also artists and also athletes, and also like we need a diversity to have a whole complete experience of humanity, and we need to encourage more of it. And like you said, when we open the door to people with disabilities, we get people like Stephen Hawking, for example, that if we would leave him to be defined by his disability, we would not be able to enjoy the contributions that he did. And it's true for any person with disability. The potential, the more we are able to remove the barriers, we can enjoy the prosperity and what they can bring to humanity as well. And I think one more thing that I just want to say, I'm sorry, we also need to remember, you mentioned the huge numbers, but also we need to remember, and you said that people are, each one of them are different, but we are all just temporarily able, right? Even if today I'm the best athlete, tomorrow I might have some disability that will prevent me from running, and we need to prepare the world for everyone, including the future us, even if we think that today we are not people with disabilities.
Yes, I want to comment this example. For example, near you without glasses are disabled.
I am disabled.
Are not considered a person with disability because you have the glasses. For the question of the Stephen Hawking, the question is exactly that. All person have some functional or behavior limitation. The analysis that are made on the functioning of these scientists explain that he need a personal assistant 24 years because the slot that he have hinder him to be in autonomy, to have a concrete form to moving, the wheelchair commanded by the joystick electric, and at the same time, how he can speak it, because the SLA produce a problem on the use of the muscle of the face. He can articulate the word. And for that, Stefan have a computer that read the movement of the eyes that permit to transfer this movement in a word, artificial word, that continue to make this activity in the field of the cosmologists and the other issue related. This means that now society can offer to the person that have a functional limitation the support. This support can be based on the profile of functioning of the person. In this case, the analysis of the profile of Stephen Hawking produced to support in appropriate form the word and the life he can live. This is the name is habilitation. Support person on the profile he have to participate in society on equal basis with the other.
Exactly. And then society benefits even more from having more people who can contribute. So we are helping bridge the barriers and they become part, and everyone become parts of society, and we have a better society. Giampiero, we are out of time. I wanted to thank you so much. I'm working on accessibility for a decade, and I learned a lot from you. You gave a lot of context, historical context, how we got to where we are, and for me it was very, very interesting. So thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure for me.
Okay, and me too. I am very happy, and good luck for your activity.
Thank you very much.